What's up, guys? It's Breakshift. I've got another funny deck to share with y'all. If you've watched any of the videos on my channel, you can probably tell that I'm not really into playing meta strategies, but I am interested in finding unusual ways to use cards, and with how many effects meta-relevant cards seem to have on them these days, you can end up in interesting situations where sometimes there will be entire effects or cards and archetypes that don't see any play at all, even though other things that those cards do are extremely meta-relevant. So, for example, today we're looking at Diabellstar. We all know this card. You've seen it used as a crazy starter for Snake Eyes, as a Mina, all kinds of other stuff. Mostly it's searching broken spell cards that set up combos. It's searching original Sinful Spoils, it's searching Subversion, that kind of stuff, right? But she does other things too. So, first of all, she has a whole effect that you might have never seen ever triggered, which is that during the opponent's turn, if she's sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, you get to send a card from your hand or field to the graveyard and special summon her back. And of course, if you do that, that'll trigger her on summon effect to set a Sinful Spoil spell or trap from the deck. So that's kind of interesting, right? I really like control decks, and this immediately makes me think that this could be a good effect to put in some kind of control strategy, right? Like if we're ending on this card, if the opponent tries to out her, she'll be able to come back and I'll get value out of it. She's got, reasonable stats, and maybe I can even use some of my own cards to remove her and force this effect to be triggered if the opponent doesn't want to remove her. So that's an interesting idea, right? But what kind of cards are we actually going to set with her? Because I'm really not interested in just playing Snake Eyes or Azamina. Well, it turns out that there's a lot of other targets that you probably haven't ever seen before. In particular, we're focusing on this one today, Sinful Spoils of Betrayal Silvera. What does this card do? It's a normal trap. It says, send one Diabellstar monster from your hand or field to the graveyard, target a face-up card on the field, negate its effects. So this is a pretty good start already. This can negate any card on the field, spell, trap, monster, doesn't matter. Furthermore, it's actually a permanent negate. So if the monster has multiple effects or whatever, you can use this in response to the first effect, and then it won't be able to use the second effect either. If you use this to stop like a field spell or some kind of continuous card, it'll be negated for the whole duel, basically, as long as that card's on the field. Pretty cool. But it also does something else. When your opponent activates a card or effect in response to your Diabellstar monster or your Sinful Spoils spell trap, you can banish it from the graveyard and negate it. That's pretty neat, right? I can go Diabellstar, set this card, then on the opponent's turn I can use this to negate something. I'll send off my own Diabellstar, that'll trigger her to come back. I get to set another card. If they try to do anything in response to her, I can just banish this and negate that. Very, very neat. So already this is kind of forming a pretty decent little control kind of engine that we could chuck into almost any sort of deck, really, right? We just need our Diabellstar, we need the Betrayal. I'm playing 2 copies because if we do end up banishing this one, we're going to want to have another one to potentially search. And of course, we also get to have this card, Wanted. It's limited, but it is a Sinful Spoils card, so we can grab it with Diabellstar. It adds a Diabellstar, and we can banish it from the grave, target a Sinful Spoils that's banished during the grave, put it on the bottom, draw 1. So the general idea here is on our first turn, we'll go set Betrayal with the Diabellstar. We'll use it on the opponent's turn, that's going to trigger her, she'll come back, she'll set Wanted, and then if the turn passes back to us, this will grab us another Diabellstar, and then we can use it in the graveyard to recycle the Betrayal, draw a card, and then set another Betrayal with the Diabellstar that we've searched. So this is a pretty strong, repeatable little engine. It requires almost no commitment. We just need to have any cards to send off. And that's pretty strong, right? It's a bit small, mostly because we're only on one Wanted. We can't play any more of that. But we do have this card, Dramatic Snake Eye Chase. This card is sort of like Wanted, for our purposes at least. Place a Diabellstar from your hand, deck, or graveyard in the spell and trap zone as a continuous spell. And then during the end phase, you can banish it from the grave, target a monster treated as a continuous spell, special summon it. So if we use this, we can just put her in the back row, and then during the end phase, she'll come out and she'll get the search. That's all we're trying to do with her. We actually want her to stay on the field so that our Betrayal is live. So it doesn't really matter that this happens during the end phase. And what's kind of neat about this card is that it's pretty much immune to hand traps, right? They can Ash your Wanted, You know, maybe you're under Droll or something. That could be a problem, but Snake Eye Chase doesn't care about that. It just places her from deck, and furthermore, since she sets from deck, of course, the only thing that you really need to worry about with her is getting impermed. So, you know, it's not quite as good as wanted, but maybe it's good enough. So with this, we have an effective 6 copies of Diabellstar. Pretty cool. What are we going to pair this with? We need to flesh this strategy out a bit more. Well, the obvious answer is the Kashtira cards. These cards are generally just very strong. They suit the theme of trying to do like a low-to-the-ground, grindy strategy. And there's a bit of incidental synergy as well. Obviously, with Birth, we can normal summon level 7 monsters. Diabellstar's level 7. She does trigger on normal summon as well. She'll still get to set, so that's pretty good. And if we're summoning her by sending a card from our hand, we can send off a Kashtira monster and then use Birth to bring it back from the graveyard. Also, something that's nice that we can do is with Raysoth, we can activate this to add a Kashtira, and then we can send it from the field later for Diabellstar, since we don't really care about keeping it around after that. It's like a free send with her. So we'll just play all the good cards here that we can, maximum 2 Unicorn, 1 Fenrir, 1 Raysoth. We don't really care that much about our extra deck with this deck. We're mostly ending on main deck guys, so I can go ahead and play Theosis. I don't mind the Xyz lock. I'm on 2 of that because it's kind of decent to draw, and we might want to have an extra card to like banish with the Rise Heart, something like that. 2 Birth for vaguely similar reasons. It's decent to draw. So, okay, we're getting somewhere now, right? But we still need a little bit more. Now, if you wanted to be as optimal as you could with this idea, I mean, first off, to be honest, this using Diabellstar for Betrayal is already just, like, very much not optimal. If you wanted to be as efficient as possible, you would just be playing Azamina or Snake Eyes, but given that we've decided we want to do this control-style deck, if we wanted to optimize it from there, after we put in the cash cards, we would probably just go with, like, a bunch of hand traps and some Fiendsmith stuff, maybe some Bystials, but I'm sure we're all kind of sick of seeing Fiendsmith by now. I've been doing a lot of stuff with Fiendsmith, I've been doing a lot of stuff with Bystials, and, you know, big hand trap piles are not the most interesting thing either, so I thought I'd do something a little more interesting and use the Vanquish Soul cards. I really like this archetype. If you're not familiar with how they work, they require you to reveal cards in your hand of specific attributes in order to get their effects. And the attributes they care about are Fire, Dark, and Earth. So Diabellstar, of course, is a Dark. Kashtira Fenrir is an Earth. Kashtira Rise Heart's a Fire. We've got, of course, Ash and Maxi, Earth and Fire as well. So we've got a decent number of cards here that match those attributes. And this will give us a good normal summon. Currently, the deck doesn't really have a fantastic normal summon. Raisin is a very good normal summon. This card generates a lot of value. That's great for a control deck. So why not put him in here? When he's summoned, he's going to add a non-warrior Vanquish Soul. So usually, you're going to want to get Jiaolong off of this. Then you can use Raisin to reveal. He has this Fire and Dark effect to destroy stuff. But if you're going first, you can just use the first effect. It gives him some protection. We don't care. We're just going to reveal a card, because when we reveal a card in our hand, then we get to summon Jiaolong. So that'll bring him out to the board. And while he's on the field, you have this effect here. Reveal 2 fires to add any Vanquish Soul card from deck to hand. That's pretty strong. So you can turn your on-field Raisin into their Link 1, Rock of the Vanquisher. And this card has a couple effects. It can either special summon a Vanquish Soul from your hand, or it can add a Vanquish Soul from grave to hand. Those are both main phase only, but also quick effects. So usually what you'll do is you'll go into Rock. Rock's effect is going to add Raisin back to hand, so that he's one of the fires that you need to reveal with Jiaolong. And then you can just reveal any other fire. Maybe we searched a Rise Heart, maybe we have an Ash, maybe we have another Jiaolong, whatever. You reveal 2 fires, then you can add another Vanquish Soul card. So you can get like Heavy Borger. This guy can tag out a different Vanquish Soul to summon himself. You get to reveal a Dark and draw a card. That's pretty good. More value. Better grind game. We've got the boss monster, of course, Caesar. This guy can either become unaffected, or if you have all 3 attributes, you can pop a card. He also has that tag out effect. He's big too, so nice card to have. And we also have this guy here, Mad Love. Mad Love can She can bounce a card, which is kind of interesting. She also has this stat manipulation effect. But most of what we care about is that if she's normal or special, she can add a Vanquish Soul spell or trap. We're playing one of those, Dust Devil. Pretty strong card. It's a quick play that targets a Vanquish Soul, it changes battle position, and then it's going to book an opponent's monster. So this is a nice card to set, and it has some applications for breaking boards if you're going second. The last thing we have here is Stake Your Soul. This is unfortunately not a Vanquish Soul card, so you can't search it. We were just kind of hoping we hard draw it, and if we do, we get to reveal any monster in the hand and special summon a Vanquish Soul with the same attribute, but a different name. So this is a pretty good way to start plays. It can be a decent extender. One thing that's nice about playing this kind of weird mismashy sort of deck is that a lot of opponents aren't going to understand how best to use their hand traps or disruptive effects if they went first. You know, for example, if I just slam down a Unicorn, a ton of people are going to be like, oh, okay, Kashtira Unicorn, you're supposed to negate this card, right? They'll throw out an Imperm or something. Okay, well, now maybe Diabellstar comes down. Oh, shoot, you're supposed to negate that card too. Let's Ash it, right? Okay, normal summon Raisin, right? You're supposed to negate this card too. Can't negate everything, probably, hopefully. So that can be an interesting benefit to this kind of deck. It maybe is somewhat comparable to something like the 60-card engine piles we saw back in the day with like Adventure and DPE and all that other sorts of stuff. This version of the deck is definitely a lot of fun, but you could also put other things in instead of Vanquish Soul, and I tried a lot of different things with this deck. So, for example, here is a version where I included Trickstar cards instead of the Vanquish Soul stuff. This, again, it gives us just a good normal summon here with Candina. We have another field spell here, Light Stage. This has that same kind of interaction as Raysoth, where we can use it to search and then send it off with Diabellstar if we want to. We have a nice little low-to-the-ground combo with Trickstar. You'll see it in the replays. I'm not going to go into great detail here, but if you just open with either Candina or Light Stage, you can end on Noble Angel, Dramatis, and Maiden of Blue Tears set. So this is a pop, and it deals some burn damage. That triggers Noble Angel to pop a card. It triggers Dramatis to make a card's stats 0. This engine also, after you use it, will add the Candina to your hand for next turn. Great for follow-up, more good grind game. And I also made this version of the deck, which has a bunch of Horus cards, way too many Horus cards. We're on 3 field spell because I wanted to try using Black Flame Deity. Honestly, there's a ton of potential using this kind of Kashtira Diabellstar shell to make janky control decks. I've been having a ton of fun with it. They're honestly pretty good. The Diabellstar Vanquish Soul one here is definitely like diamond material. Normally I try to hang around in platinum because that's where that sort of janky nonsense I usually build fits in with its power level. But this deck went right up into diamond. And if you wanted to play the less interesting version with like Fiendsmiths and hand traps and stuff, I'm certain you could easily take this up to Master if you wanted to grind a bit. So let's check out some replays now. I've got various replays with different versions of the deck. In fact, the first replay I've got here is actually from a version of the deck where I was trying Time Thief as an engine, of all things. That didn't end up working out super well, so didn't show you guys that deck list, but we don't use them really in this duel. This is mostly just showcasing the control capabilities, this deck's ability to grind. We're going second here. We drew Max C, so that's nice, but our opponent is on Labyrinth. So it's not really going to bother them too much that I Max C'd. They have Butler and Grave already. That's going to be a little bit annoying for me to deal with. I get 1 draw here. And that's going to be it from the Max C. They're just going to set and pass. So I'm feeling okay here. I have a decent hand. I've got Ash Blossom for their trap card. We'll start with Unicorn, because of course our field has to be empty for that. They have another Butler. They're going to set Big Welcome from hand. So here they go for the Lovely or Silver Lady, whichever one. I always forget those cards' names. They're just going to pop a random card from my hand with Lovely on the field. The other one's going to come down. That'll let me trigger my Unicorn, I guess, for what that's worth. They pop the Time Thief card. Like I said, they don't. The Time Thieves don't come up here. So we'll add Theosis. Theosis target Unicorn for Fenrir. Fenrir going to add the Rise Heart. Send off the preparations. That's not going to be necessary this duel. We'll set our Betrayal. With Rise Heart out here, we're going to be able to go into Shangri-Ira. So I'll go ahead and throw him down. Or, oh, that's right, I forgot. Actually, I'm afraid of the back row this duel, so I went for Dark Armed instead. Because I didn't want to commit into this stuff. But he was just like a Tract and an Ice Dragon's Prison. Ice Dragon's Prison could have been annoying. Tract was a useless card, so I guess he kind of baited me a little bit there. But it's fine because he doesn't have a ton of cards here, and I'm actually set up quite nicely for a grind game. He punches over the Diabellstar, but of course that's just going to make her come back. I'll send off the Imperm. It's not super useful here. We get to set another card, so this is another card that I ended up getting rid of, Sinful Spoils Subdual, but we don't even actually resolve it during this whole duel. But he has to respect my back row, right? So he decides he's just going to bounce it with the Big Welcome so that I can't use it on my next turn. So this could have been like any trap. If it was wanted, I would have been able to activate it from the hand, of course, but then he probably just wouldn't have bounced it. I was on this originally as well, Subversion. It ended up being kind of bricky and not really actually all that useful, so I cut it. You can incorporate it if you felt like it, though. It is a cool card. Anyway, he goes to IDP. For some reason, he grabs the Dark Armed. He probably should have gone with Unicorn, get rid of the Fenrir. But, you know, whatever. I'll just banish it. He's going to go Big Welcome. We've got our Ash Blossom, so let's put a stop to that. He's going to chain the Butler. Nothing I can do about that. That's fine. Butler comes out. I'm not really too concerned about having Butler on the field. Nothing to accomplish in the battle phase here, so I'm just going to pass. Normally, you wouldn't really want to be going into a grind against Labyrinth. This deck is so good in the grind, but we actually can kind of go toe-to-toe with him here. He's going to Imperm the Fenrir so that he can Trap Trick safely, but I'm going to use the Betrayal here. He chains, and guess what? You just used a card or effect in response, so if I had another Betrayal in the graveyard here, I would have been able to negate that. That's why I think the 2 Betrayal version is better than this version with Subdual, right? But we get to stop the Trap Trick anyway, and we just send off the Subdual. So definitely thinking it's the right choice that I moved on to 2 Betrayal and no Subdual. This card summons Diabellstar from the deck, and she's like an anti-spell while she's on the field. Interesting card, but it just didn't really pan out. It was too bricky, I decided, so here we go. I actually do get to use the Betrayal Negate this time around. He gets to have Butler again, but I finally have an answer to that with Called By here, so we can shut that down. And at this point, he's basically out of cards. All his stuff's being negated here, and he just scoops it up. He knows that he can't contend with the rest of this. I'm going to be adding Diabellstar. I'm going to be getting more searches. Pretty nice little grind there. Let's move on to the next duel. This one is against Galaxy Tachyon. Pretty interesting deck. I messed around with some builds of that, but I couldn't come up with anything I was super interested in. We win the coin toss this time. We're going first. This is the Vanquish Soul version. We didn't find our Kashtira or our Diabellstar stuff, but we can just make some plays with Ryzen. We have the Fire in hand here with Ash. So this is that line I was telling you guys about earlier. You summon out the Jiaolong, you make Rock, add back the Raisin. And now we have 2 fires to reveal with Jiaolong. We also have this Dark in our hand already, so we'll be able to immediately draw a card with the Border. So I'll go ahead and do that now. Maybe we can find our way into the other engines. And sure enough, we can. We find Diabellstar, so send off the preparations. Don't need that at all. We get to grab ourselves Wanted because we already drew Betrayal. So we're in pretty decent shape here. The opponent is going to use 7th Tachyon. That's like their way to get to their best card. I'd rather him not. We'll just throw out the Ash. Now that I've activated a monster effect during the main phase, I might as well fire off my other monster effects, since the triple tax that he might have are already live. So we draw a card with Borger, we summon with Rock to get another search. And sure enough, he has the triple tack. But he chooses to look at my hand. I don't know why he went for that. I don't really have anything worth taking. I'm going to go for Delta Wing here. I could have negated that with Betrayal, but I would rather him commit to the Galaxy Photon Dragon and negate this instead. That way, if he had any kind of extender, if I had negated the Delta Wing, then he could theoretically still do this line. This way, that's not going to be an option, so we'll shut off the Galaxy Photon Dragon, trigger the Diabellstar. I don't need Rock anymore or to use that effect this turn, so we'll just get rid of that. Another thing that's just sort of like a freebie sometimes to send with the Diabellstar. And Raisin can reveal to get the Jiaolong effect, and then Jiaolong can use his Reveal 1 Fire to actually change the battle position of a monster. Not something that comes up super often, but yeah, he's toast there. He had no more plays on my turn. I was going to be able to get more searches with Jiaolong, get more draws with the Borger, all kinds of stuff. We were in great shape there. Here we got a duel against Blue Eyes. This one is pretty sloppy. I think I made some mistakes, but it ended up having one very funny moment, so I think it's worth showing off anyway. So here's the hand. It's pretty alright. We got Maxi, we got cash cards. I'm not feeling too bad about that. We'll start with Unicorn for Theosis. It's somewhat awkward here. Yeah, Rhoda for Raisin. We're going to try and use Raisin. We don't have the extra fire yet, but we can get there. We can use Theosis for Fenrir, and Fenrir can add Rise Heart. So if he doesn't have any kind of disruption, which it seems like he doesn't, then we should be able to make some stuff happen here. So Raisin back to hand. Now we can Theosis, since we did have to Link Summon, and Theosis Exceeds locks you. Fenrir to add the Rise Heart, that's gonna go through. We can reveal 2 fires now. I'll add Caesar. I don't have any darks, so Borger's not doing all that much. Boost our Rise Heart up to a 7. This time we actually do go for the Shangri-La. I'm just going to use this to get another Unicorn out, but it's sticky, right? It has that protection effect, and I'll be able to trigger it again on my standby phase. In theory, he might not know that I don't have any more targets, right? So if it could bait out any kind of, like, removal or negation, then I'm happy with that, even though it sort of didn't accomplish much. Anyway, he's on Blue Eyes, so I'd like to just remove his monster as quickly as possible. I don't want him to go into the Link 1. He's playing 2 of them, so I couldn't do that with the Unicorn. I just go after the Cipher instead. He's only got 1 of those. Shangri-La locks some zones, whatever, it doesn't really matter. Rock of the Vanquisher can special Raisin. Raisin can add another card. We'll get the second Jiaolong. And then we're going to return him to the hand so that we can drop down Caesar. We've got 2 fires in hand again. Jiaolong can search. So much advantage you can generate in this deck. We'll grab the Borger now. He's under Maxi, so feeling okay about that. Blue Eyes is going to come down. We draw Diabellstar. Remember that Betrayal can send from the hand as well, so it is actually live at this point. He goes for True Light. I'm just going to let that through. Since Wishes makes him discard for costs, I can just negate that instead with the Betrayal. So we'll draw with the Borger by revealing Diabellstar, and then Caesar can pop a card. Why not take out the True Light at this point, get rid of the rest of his field. And then with Wishes, I can negate that with Betrayal, just like we planned. Here's something funny, by the way. Even if your field is full like this, you can still use the Diabellstar effect. She can just send one of the monsters and then occupy that empty zone. Kind of interesting that it works out that way. And then we get to set. And yeah, he's pretty much toast. This actually isn't the duel I was thinking about where I played really sloppy. That was a different duel against Blue Eyes. We'll get to that one in a moment. Obviously, it's just over at this point, though. There's nothing for him to do. So, mop him up. going first with a good hand into no interruption, yeah, of course we should have been able to win, and we did, but sometimes it's nice just to show off what, like, ideal hands can go into. So we got 2 more duels here. This time we lost the coin toss. This is the Trickstar version. And the opponent is on some sort of White Forest build. I don't have any sort of interruption, of course, so he'll just get to do whatever he wants. But he's not playing like any kind of really crazy stuff, and I don't know, maybe he's new to the deck or something, but he doesn't really accomplish all that much here, so I don't know. Again, we're kind of just showing off the potential of this build, so you can imagine we're just going first instead. We get to do this kind of stuff. He is an Ash, that's fine. Can go ahead and banish one of his cards. He's got Ghost Ogre, but it's usually not a fantastic option to Ghost Ogre a cash tier monster like this, because of course I can just summon another one, right? Thanks for emptying my field. Here's Ogre. Ogre for prep. And now it's time to go into the Trickstar part of the deck. This card is so strong. It's not once per turn. It outs back row and stuff. Really, really nice card. This is the basic Trickstar combo. You add Hoodie with the initial search. You link into this thing. This can special itself to a link zone. Actually, it's not even a link zone. Just if you have a link, you can special her anywhere. We go into the other link one. This deck has 2 link ones. If she uses link material, you get to add Trickstar Fusion. We're going to fuse the 2 link monsters into Dramatis. Dramatis will search another card. So here we're going to add Aqua Angel. In Grave, you can banish Fusion to add back a card. You can't use that card for the rest of the turn, but this is just follow-up for next turn with the Candina. Aqua Angel can special itself, and then we'll go into the link 2. If you use Aqua Angel as a link material, you get to look at your opponent's hand. Of course, he just has 1 card, so not very relevant, but if we were going first, that's actually extremely valuable, especially for a control deck. Getting to know exactly where you should spend your disruptions is really good. The link can reborn the Fusion. She also added this trap card. Now that I'm done using my non-Xyz extra deck plays, I can Theosis safely. We get Birth. Birth back the Fenrir. And this is a good chunk of damage, but all he has to do is just summon the tuners out of the grave and stuff, and he can block me here, so not going to be able to kill him, but that's fine. We're not really trying to push for big damage or do OTKs or anything with this deck. We're trying to grind, and we're clearly in much better position than him to be grinding right now. So he gets to add back the Elzette. I'll take out his level 6 there, so I can deal a little bit of burn damage here, why not? It's still not quite enough for the kill, but this trap card deals burn damage too. It pops a monster and deals damage equal to half of its attack. So if he summons basically anything, we just kill him. And here we fill up every single zone. The only way we could have more cards on the field is if we extra linked him. I thought that was pretty funny. So lots and lots of advantage generation possible with this deck, and this was through a couple hand traps. We got Ashed and Ogred. Of course, we did have that extra card, the 6th card, because we were going second, but you know, the Imperm or whatever, right? Not super necessary. We definitely could have accomplished a similarly powerful first turn play otherwise. And anyway, this duel is obviously just over, so he's on some Centurion stuff as well, but it doesn't matter. So, last duel, this is the one. This is the sloppy one. This was where I was trying out the Horus build, which is easily the worst one out of the 3 decks that I showed you earlier. I just think the Horus cards are really cool, and I enjoy the idea of like sitting on main deck guys a lot. So I'm not even trying to make like rank 8s with them. I just want to stick them on the board and have them come back every turn. So we've got the Sark here. Opponent does not seem to have anything. You always want to summon Imseti first if you're doing this kind of stuff, by the way, in case they have a Bestial. If you summon a different one first, then they can Bestial your Imseti. We'll get to use the Snake Eye Chase here for the first time. The interesting thing about Chase is that it's kind of like Wanted in that when you do it this way, you don't actually have to send a card off with your Diabellstar. You do have to send a card if you use Wanted, but Wanted draws you a card later to make up for it, right? So they're actually kind of the same in terms of card advantage. Anyway, he goes for True Light, and I'm going to negate that with Betrayal. This is the funniest part of this duel because, remember, this is a permanent negate, so his True Light is just negated forever. Now remember, of course, that Maiden can place True Light from the graveyard as well, so we are just going to leave this card here, right? We'll just leave it on the field. He probably doesn't play multiples, and he'll never be able to use it. He has the Kaiser Seahorse here for his normal summon, so he can just go into the Link 1. And he's just going to go off with some Blue Eyes plays here. My stuff's all reactive, so just going to be chilling here until he gives me an opportunity to do something. Yeah, you can see we've gone much more minus with this build of the deck compared to the other ones. So there's really not much of a reason to play a version like this, unless you just like the horse cards like me. But any sort of small-ish engine that is either like normal summon reliant, or anything of the sort, maybe wants cards put in the graveyard by like Diabellstar and stuff, you could put all sorts of different things in here. So he gets Jet effect to bounce the Sark. I don't know why he picked that. I can chain Sark. This is damage step anyway, so the fact that one of my cards left the field doesn't matter. It doesn't trigger the Horus guys. He's got a couple sets. See what we can top deck here. We top deck Walls. Now, since I am actually playing Horus the Black Flame Deity, we can add that off of the Walls. I go for number 90 here because I would like to be able to negate his Spirit Dragon. We'll activate Wanted, and he's going to negate that with Spirit Dragon. I can banish Betrayal to negate that. I won't be able to actually draw off Wanted, but I'm just hoping it forces him to do something, and it does. He chains the Spirit Dragon. That way I can chain my number 90. But he's got an Imperm, so holy cow, Chain Link 6. Don't see that super often. So all of this stuff is going to resolve, and the long and short of it is that he does get the ultimate Spirit Dragon out. Like I said, I can't actually draw anymore with the Wanted because I banished my thing, but I can use Walls. He's going to negate it. I'm fine with that. I was kind of trying to bait him here to negate that, because it is still just King Sark on the field. I can still just summon my guys, and now I can actually use the effect to send with the real copy of King Sark here, and that resolves. So I'm pretty happy with that. I figure let's do Typhon here as well. This will let me detach the Imseti that was underneath him, so I can get that back next turn. He's got the ultimate creature, so that's going to make his dude immune. I won't be able to do anything about that. So I just pass turn. True Light still negated. Sorry, bro. Spirit Dragon's going to die. And he normal summons Droll to go into a Typhon of his own. Or actually, he goes into Spirit Dragon, or Spirit with Eyes of Blue, that is. I thought he was going to go into Typhon of his own. Because, I mean, I don't know why he did this, honestly. I guess the idea is that he's trying to reset creature here. Because, like, he can get back Maiden, but this doesn't actually really accomplish anything for him here, as you can see. He has nothing left to do because his Spirit Dragon's already been taken out. Jack can come back here, and he decides to bounce the monster this time, which I guess is smarter than bouncing the Sark. Not that it ends up really mattering, because I just send it off again anyway, and I can just discard this thing for the Sark. We draw Birth. That's, like, completely useless. But we'll go ahead and discard the Dwamatef. We're actually on the Kabasinef as well in this build, of course, even though most people choose to exclude him. But this makes our Dwamatef 4,800. He's massive. We can add Black Flame Deity, and I will use this to force out the ultimate creature. So instead, I'll just send the Maiden. Now, this would destroy my Dwamatef, but of course, since it doesn't target, King Sark protects Dwamatef. So I just deal a little bit of damage, and that's that. True Light still negated. Can't use it. He's had enough. So there you go. Messy, sloppy duel, but it was pretty funny if you ask me. So there we go. We got a whole bunch of duels this time. A whole bunch of different versions of the deck. I've been having a ton of fun with this. Feel free to give it a try if you want to have a different take on the Diabellstar stuff. Let me know if you guys like the deck, if you try it out, how it goes for you. Leave some comments, and I will catch you guys later with some more decks. Peace out.